Section 4.4 Interactive Assignment Objective 2. In an effort to gauge how the country's population feels about the immigration, researchers surveyed adult citizens. One question asked was, on the whole, do you think immigration is a good thing or a bad thing for this country today? The results of the survey by ethnicity are given in the accompanying table, and we're going to complete parts A through D. So here is our table. Okay, so here's our amounts. We have our good thing, bad thing, good and bad, and no opinion. The first column represents non-Hispanic whites. The second column is blacks, and the third column is Hispanics. Okay, so the first question is asking us how many adult citizens were surveyed. So that means we need to add up all these values. Okay, so here are all the values. So when we add up the total, we're going to add up 180 plus 152 plus 144, 107, 101, 133, 9, 14, 12, 9, 11, and then 6. So when we add up the total there, then we get the following value. We get 778. So therefore, we're going to answer our question and say that the answer is 778. Now the next question is, how many Hispanics were surveyed? Which means that we want to find the total, meaning the total in this column. So if we add 144, 33, 12, and then 6, okay, when we add those together, we're going to get 195. Okay, so we're going to answer that question. So therefore, it is 195. Okay, so that answers part A. Okay, now part B wants us to construct a relative frequency marginal distribution, but before we do that, let's find the total of blacks in that column. So we have 152, 101, plus 14, plus 11, which gives us 278. And then the total non-Hispanic whites is 180 plus 107 plus 9 plus 9, which is equal to 305. And so therefore, there is our values. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to create a relative frequency marginal distribution. So we're going to have to use the total, the table total at 778. So what we want to do in order to do that is we want to first add up all the values in this first column, which is non-Hispanic whites. So we're going to take these values here. So we're going to take 180 plus 107 plus 9 plus 9. Okay, and then when we add that together, we're going to get a total of 305, which notice here that the total non-Hispanic whites up here is 305. And then we're going to divide it by the total of 778, which is the table total, which gives us 0.3920. Okay, next, we are going to then find the total of the next column, which represents blacks. So for total blacks, we're going to add up 152, 101, 14, and 11. So 152 plus 101 plus 14 plus 11 gives us 278, and you can see that we get that total there. So we're going to divide it by the table total of 278, and therefore that gives us 0.3573. So there should be a decimal there. So let me go ahead and put a decimal point there. So there should be a decimal point here. It's 0.3573. Okay, next what we're going to do is now find the total of the third column, which we have already done, which is the total of the Hispanics column. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have total Hispanics is going to be 144 plus 33 plus 12 plus 6. And we know that we got 195 for that total. And we're going to divide it by the table total of 778, which gives us a 0.2506 relative frequency distribution. Okay, now what we want to do is now we're going to add up the total amount in the rows. Okay, and we're going to divide it by the table total. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the following. We're going to take the 180 plus 152 plus 144, and that gives us 476 for the row for good thing, and we're dividing it by the table total, which gives us 0.6118. Okay, next, we're going to take the total for the column of, the first one was good thing, of bad thing. So 107, 101, and 33. When we add those together, it gives us 241. And we're dividing it by the table total of 778 to give us 0.3097. Okay, next, we are going to take the next row, which is good and bad. So 9 plus 14 plus 12 gives us 35, and then dividing it by the table total is going to give us 0.0449. And then the last one, we're going to take the following for no opinion. 9 plus 11 plus 6, which gives us a total of 26, and then we divide that by the table total to give us 0.03341. Now, whenever we're dealing with a relative frequency marginal distribution, okay, what's going to happen is when we add up the total value here in this column, we're going to get a value rounding to 1. And likewise, when we add the total here, we're going to get a value of 1. Okay, now before we do that, we're supposed to round our values here at the bottom to 3 decimal places. So we're going to round this to 3 decimal places, which is 0.392. We're going to round this one to 3 decimal places, which is 0.357. And we're going to round this one to 3 decimal places, which is 0.251. And then we're going to round this one to 3 decimal places, which is 0.612. We're rounding this to 3 decimal places, which is 0.310. Rounding this to 3 decimal places, 0.045. And then rounding this to 3 decimal places is 0.033. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our results here. All right, so here we go. So we have our 0.612, 0.310, 0.045, and 0.33, and we know when we add them up, it gives us 1. And down here is 0.392, 0.357, and 0.251, which again matches our results here. Okay, the next question wants us to say, what proportion of adult citizens feel that immigration is a good thing for this country? Now again, we're talking about adult citizens, so that is the total. So that means we want to look at the row where it says a good thing, and that means what are all the citizens? So all the citizens is in this last row, which is 0.612. So that means that the answer is going to be 0.612. Okay, next question says to construct a conditional distribution of immigration opinion by ethnicity. So now we're going to create a conditional distribution of immigration opinion by ethnicity. So we're going to look at the totals of each of the column. So what we're going to do is for the non-Hispanic whites, we found a total of 305. So that means that the number that we found in a good thing is 180, and we're going to divide it by the total of 305. So we're going to take 180, which represents the amount there. We're going to divide it by the total number of Hispanics to give us 0.5901. Next, we're going to take the number for bad thing, which is 107, and divide it by the total in the column of non-Hispanic whites, which again is 305, which gives us 0.3508. The amount of good and bad for non-Hispanic whites was 9, and we're dividing it by that total of 305 to give us 0.0295. And then the last one, we're going to take 9, which is again is the no opinion, divide that by the total in that column of non-Hispanic whites of 305 gives us 0.0295. Okay, and then when we add those numbers together, it's going to give us 1. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take each individual value in the column for blacks and divide it by the total number of blacks in that column. So we're going to take our value of 152 and divide it by the total in that column of 278 to get 0.5467. Next, we're going to take 101 divided by the total number in that column of 278 to get 0.3633. Next, we're going to take the next value, 14, and divide it by 278 to get 0.0503. And then the last one, we're going to take 11 divided by the total of the column of 278 to get 0.0395. And when we add those all up, it gives us a value of 1. Okay, now we're going to do the column with Hispanics. So recall that we're going to take the value of 144, which represents a good thing, and we're going to divide it by the total number in the column, which is 195, which gives us 0.7384. And then we're going to take the next value, which is 33, divide that by the total of 195 to get 0.1692. Then we're going to take the next value of 12 and divide that by 195 as a total in that column to get 0.0615. And then we're going to take the next value of 6, divide that by 195 to get 0.0307. And then when we add up everything in that column, we're going to get 1. Okay, now when we answer, they're going to also want us to round those to 3 decimal places. So if we round the first one to 3 decimal places, we have 0.590. Round the next one, it's going to be 0.351. Round the next one is 0.030. And round the next one at 0.030. Okay, the next one, we're going to round to 3 decimal places, which is 0.547. Round this one to 0.363. Round this to 3 decimals is 0.050. Round this to 3 decimals, 0.040. Rounding this to 3 decimal places, 0.740. Rounding this to 3 decimal places, 0.169, 0.062, and 0.031. Okay, and then we're going to put all those values into our result here, and you can see that we get those results for our answer. And again, what we created was a relative conditional, a conditional distribution of that. Okay, and therefore that completes this question.